All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and waiting on me for me to hop on this live. Sooners win 33-30 in what I honestly, I mean, the last 20 years, I can't think of a better Red River rivalry game. It was absolutely incredible. Real quick, I've just got to throw this out there. The sellout crowd's coverage of Oklahoma Texas game in Dallas is sponsored by Modelo, the official beer of fans with the fighting spirit. I am one of the newest members of the Sellout Crowd group, and I am so thrilled to be a part of that such a great organization. Getting back in the media has been fantastic. Covering football games again, talking to you guys again has been great. And man, my prediction, I mean, I couldn't have been more spot on. I think I went 31 28. I called 2 turnovers for the Sooner defense, and Dylan Gabriel will be the hero of the game. And that's exactly what happened. Uh, a lot of people asking me why I felt so confident in the Sooner defense coming into this. And I think, honestly, the reality of it is for me, it was never about an individual performance defensively this season for Oklahoma. It has always been about the team, right? That total team defense. Linemen, linebackers, secondary, all in sync, all know what they're doing, flying around the football field, group tackling. We've seen it every single game this year. Even though the opponents haven't been stellar, that defense takes the field with intent. That defense takes the field with an attitude, with a passion and a fire for the game and knowledge. Knowledge is everything. The difference between the Venables defense and the Alex Grinch defense is all up here. The understanding of what you're doing. Why is the defense being called this way? What is coach seeing that he's going to put me in this position? And the more that you know, the more that you understand why your coach is putting you in the situations that he is, the better you can perform and the more that you can react instinctually. And when you got a guy like Danny Stutzman out there who is a field general, he understands it. He's getting guys in the secondary with confidence lined up. The defensive line trust him. They keep him clean. And that kid is free and clear to go out there and just be an athlete and be a great football player. And that's what he was every single down today. What an incredible performance by Stutzman. The other guy that jumps off the page for me defensively, Ethan Downs, had the best football game maybe of his life today, right? If there was anything that I could say about this Oklahoma defense coming into this, it would have been the defensive line didn't have a guy to write home about, right? Didn't have a guy that was a superstar, didn't have a guy that was, I like to call him gold-nutted stud, somebody that is making the opposing offense make adjustments for them. I'm not writing home about these guys prior to this game. Ethan Downs on the edges and the interior of that Oklahoma defense, they stood the hell up today, beat their chest, and let the entire country know that they are here. They have arrived. The Oklahoma defense is back. Downs was fantastic. The interior was great. Ewers could never get comfortable in the pocket. And it shows a testament to that kid because I think he set some sort of Red River record with like 19 consecutive passes. And he was under duress the majority of the game. It was incredible watching that group go to work. It was incredible watching them take the field time after time after time, even in the moments where their offense wasn't helping them out. At one point, my buddy Tucker Rutherford texted me and he was just like, the defense has been on the field too long. And I'm thinking he's right? They've been out there way too long at this point, and they're going to start to dwindle. They're going to start to peel away. But, you got to thank the weather gods here that the temperature was right. The heat didn't play a factor in here. And when it's nice and cool like it is today, you feel like you can play 8 quarters of football. And so the Sooners never really had that withering moment defensively. I thought that they were where they needed to be the majority of the game. Got to give a shout out to Sark and the Texas Longhorns. That's a good football team. And for me, I appreciated the chess match between the two coaches for 4 quarters. Sometimes Sark won, sometimes Venables won. These two are masters of their own skill set. Sark's one of the best offensive minds in college football. We all know who Brent Venables is, and those two absolutely clashed for 4 quarters of football, and it was fantastic to watch them get after each other, no question. But the defense is the star of the show here, no doubt. Couldn't be happier with the way that they played today. And once again, opportunistic. The turnovers came because Oklahoma forced them. Excuse me. Oklahoma forced turnovers in this game. It was in the right place to create fumbles. They're beating at the ball the entire time. This is a well-coached football team, a well-coached, focused defense. and they're going to be like this the entire year, right? That's who they are. What you saw today is exactly who this football team is, and now they've got a huge confidence boost heading into the rest of the Big 12 season. To me, you look at this football team now, and it's about getting the offense to catch up. I thought the offensive line today did their very best. I thought they ran the ball at times with competence. You got to give a shout out to Walker and Majors and that group. I thought those kids ran with passion. They were fierce at the line of scrimmage, lowered their shoulders, always falling forward. It was great. Dylan Gabriel over 100 yards rushing in this game. He really did his job on the ground. He's a competent runner. He runs with a knowledge, right? It's not like he's out there just running for his life. This kid is a talented runner. He doesn't have, he's not Lamar Jackson fast. He's not Kyler Murray in space by any means, but he reminds me a little bit of Baker Mayfield with his ability to extend plays. And when he gets out in space, he's running like an athlete, right? He's tucking the ball and making a move, making people miss like that. That's a huge part of his game. And it was great to see that come through for him today because he needed it to. Right. He wasn't phenomenal through the air for all 4 quarters. He had some unbelievable moments through the air, no doubt. And give it a shout out to Farouk, who is giving me vibes of CeeDee Lamb every single game. Right. That kid catches the ball and it's like, well, hell, what's he going to do next? Right. Where's he going to go next? What move is he going to make next? That's the kind of playmaking ability that you want to see. They got to really start to focus on getting Farouk the ball 10, 15 times a game if they can, because he's such a dynamic player with the ball in his hand. The sooner you can get it to his hands, the better, because he's going to make some plays in space and be an absolute playmaker for the Oklahoma Sooners moving forward. God, who else should I try to think? I think Jeff Lebby called a good game. I think it was a struggle for him in the beginning, which is what's going to happen here, in big games like this. The other team's got some dudes, right? Texas has got some dudes. I have to admit, this is the first time I've looked at the Texas Longhorns in the last 20 years and thought, oh, that looks familiar. Right when they stepped on the field and you got a 6'6", 360-pound defensive tackle, that reminds me of the Texas Longhorns I played against 20 years ago. They're bigger than life. And there were the moments where you're watching Gabriel in the backfield and it's like, oh crap, he can't see over the line of scrimmage, right? He can't see what's going on the field because they just were so big and they were getting so much push up the middle. Although Raymond, that group in the middle, did a good job keeping them covered up, they were still pushing the offensive line back. So you got to give Texas a lot of credit for the way that they were able to disrupt Oklahoma at times. And Lebby had to figure it out. And I thought he went into halftime, made some great adjustments. And a sign of a well-coached team is when they come out from the half and have immediate success. And I thought the defense made adjustments. The offense went in there and made adjustments. And you saw immediate success out of halftime. Oklahoma takes the field offensively, drives immediately down the field, and they score a touchdown, right? Texas came to this game with all the confidence in the world, but they almost seemed, I don't want to say overconfident, because even the narrative from Sark was, we're not emotional about this, right? We're not out there saying Texas is back. We're just a good football team playing good football right now, and that's who we want to be today, type of thing. What I think they were missing, though, is just the emotion of it, right? And you could tell from the first kickoff of the game, Oklahoma ran down the field with their hair on fire. They have great coverage. I want to say Texas' starting point was inside the 15-yard line or inside of that 20-yard line somewhere. They're hooping and hollering, jumping up and down, losing their minds. The offense is on the sidelines, pumped up, ready to go. The emotion and energy, to me, favored Oklahoma right off the bat. Texas came in cool, calm, and collected, which is not a bad way to come into a game like this, right? It's not a bad way to be that. But I think that Oklahoma, after what happened a year ago, Gabriel not being able to play in this game, there was so much emotion behind the way that they competed today that it was 100% a benefit to the Sooners. So I loved every second of this game. I was pretty pumped to make the prediction that I did. And I called my dad before the game. I was like, man, I'm struggling with this, because I was like just kind of going back and forth. Go back and watch Texas and Alabama. And, the one thing I will say is Alabama's not very good this year. Their offensive line's not very good. There was some quarterback issues. But going to Tuscaloosa and getting a win is 100% a confidence builder and something that Texas should be proud of. No doubt about it. But I didn't think that it was the test that maybe people thought it was. And so to me, that knocked Texas down just enough for me to be able to pick Oklahoma to win this game, because what I was seeing from the Sooners in their previous games was just total team victories with a mindset of, we're here to win, we're here to compete, we're here to go out there and truly get after it as a unit. The energy they play with, the attitude they play with, all that stuff is contagious and infectious, and it just grows as the season goes along. And I thought they were ready for the best performance of the season, and I think that's what we got today in this big win over Texas in the Cotton Bowl. So huge win for the Sooners. I can't wait to see what happens next this season. I think not only are they poised to chase the Big 12 championship, but they are poised to chase a semifinal game. And ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in my career as a journalist covering Oklahoma, if they do make it to a semifinal game, they most likely will have a shot to compete in that game based off of what we saw today defensively. I've never picked Oklahoma to win a semifinal game because the defense was non-existent. If they can get this offense going and get that offensive line they need to be 10% better than what they are right now. You're talking about a Sooner team that's going to represent the Big 12 in its last year in a big way at the end of the season. So, and I think we'll get Texas, Oklahoma again in the Big 12 championship, and I can't wait. It's going to be incredible. Big thank you to guys for joining me today. Let's take some questions, and I'll let you go. I'm sorry I talked so fast. It was the last 5 minutes of the game. I'm pretty sure I was holding my breath, but it was unbelievable. What do we got? Questions, anybody? The goal line stand. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? With that offensive line from Texas, for Oklahoma to go out there and stop them on the 1 yard line 3 times, that's what I'm talking about right there. That's heart. That's passion. That is the will to win that Texas just didn't have today. No disrespect to Sark and the Longhorns. I thought they played a great game, but Oklahoma had that edge, and you saw it right there in the goal line. Defense against the game ball, no doubt. Let's see. Levy's play calling is Levy. Levy needs to use the pass to open up the run. Yeah, I think I think that what people need to understand is at times Oklahoma's offensive line can be pretty inconsistent, right? So when every snap seems to mean as much as each snap meant today, you have to question the way that you call plays. I think Levy would like to call some different plays every once in a while, but he doesn't have the faith in his offensive line to execute that play. So he goes to simple things like run pass options for his quarterback, trust Dylan Gabriel to run some of these not screens. What am I thinking of? These quarterback runs up the middle, these draws, right? We saw a couple of draws people were unhappy with. I think he's doing his best with a unit up front that's still trying to figure some things out. Although I will say this is probably their best performance this season against a defensive line I would say that's probably one of your top 15 defensive lines in the country. So respect to the Oklahoma offensive line for showing up, competing, keeping their quarterback as clean as they could, running the football when they could. OU doesn't win this game without those guys, period. They just don't. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than what we've seen so far this season. They took a big step in the Cotton Bowl today. Where does this rank on your list of Red River games? For me, it's number 1. I mean, it's as far as the overall. Well, I hate to mention his name, but Caleb Williams' comeback was unbelievable. I sat in a press box for that, and it just blew me away for 4 quarters. That was pretty incredible. But this is the 1 or 2. This is right up there. If that one's 1A, this is 1B. Just action across the board, the energy behind it. The fact that they're going into the SEC adds a whole nother level of intensity behind it. This was pretty amazing, coming in. I think there's a lot of Sooner fans that were reserved coming in this game. Like even when I made my prediction this morning, I got Sooner fans saying, "Are you sure?" I hope you're right. There was a lot of, I hope you're right. I think OU fans were relatively confident, but there were some that didn't necessarily believe that this was a possibility. And so it was, yeah, man. I mean, that's up there as far as best game. I mean, look, that's one of the best games I've seen this year, last year. I mean, you're talking, it's been that's an ESPN instant classic in my opinion. DG carried the team in his back today, and the defense did as well. Yeah. So my pregame, I said that the defense was going to have the best performance of the season, and that Dylan Gabriel would leave the best player in the field. And that's exactly what happened today. Dylan Gabriel took a step towards the Heisman, in my opinion. I think he takes a step as far as following those all-time great quarterbacks that we saw over the last 5 years. You talk Baker, you talk Kyler, you talk Jalen. Dylan doesn't have the body that those dudes does, right? Those dudes had. He doesn't have the speed that Kyler had, or the size that Jalen had, or even the swagger that Baker had. But Dylan Gabriel very much carving out his own story in Norman, right? The transfer, right? This kid that comes from Florida, who shows up after Oklahoma's got Heisman after Heisman after Heisman. These incredible quarterbacks, these quarterbacks that will forever be a part of Oklahoma history. Here comes this guy that's too short and he's too small. And what's he going to do? Right? How is this Oklahoma's quarterback? How have we got here? How do we lose Spencer Rattler? How do we lose Caleb Williams? And who's this guy? And look at him getting out there and doing a darn thing. And I'm telling you right now, it started in the spring for him to survive Jackson Arnold, which that's exactly what that is, surviving it. He pushed himself. He got better this year. He was incredible in the spring, and you could tell that he took every bit of what he heard about Arnold and the pressure that he was going to get from him this year very serious. Dylan Gabriel got better in the offseason significantly. He's more accurate. His body is better. He's running the ball with more confidence, the whole 9 yards. This kid did what Spencer Rattler couldn't, right? Spencer, he wilted under the pressure from Caleb Williams. Could never stop looking behind him at Caleb Williams. Dylan Gabriel went out there and said, this is my team. This is my position. I'm the leader of this group. And he went out there and played great football throughout the spring and obviously all the way into this season. And it really kind of came together here in Cotton Bowl today. Let's see. Do you think Sankey was impressed today? I think Sankey, you're talking about a conference that's already got one of the great rivalry games in the Iron Bowl. Alabama and Auburn every single year play a tremendous game. There's a ton of energy and passion to help. People die every year. Someone murders one of the other fan base every year in the Alabama Auburn game. Like, there's some real crazy people down there in the South, no doubt. But the SEC is just grinning like a Cheshire cat right now. That the Big 12's flagship game, right? Oklahoma, Texas at the Cotton Bowl, Texas State Fair. The entire atmosphere of it is now part of this SEC umbrella. And I talked to Dari Noka this last week. You guys can check that out on my podcast feed right now. Dari kind of talked a little bit about the SEC and what it means to be a part of it. It's the biggest show in football. Like, there's the NFL here, and then there's the SEC, and then there's the rest of college football. And so that Sankey was thrilled at the performance that he saw today and the passion behind the fan base and what everything that the OU Texas game means to Oklahoma and Texas. Like, it's huge. Yeah, he's pretty fired up. What team on the remaining schedule do you see that could be a challenge? Well, I think Kansas State is a better football team than what you saw last night. I had some Oklahoma State fans get a little upset with me because I flat out just came out and said it, right? Like, Kansas State played like hot garbage. They were bad. Not even close to anything that you've seen out of them so far this season. Their offensive line was off. Quarterback was off. Stupid mistakes. Defense was making mistakes in the secondary. It was just a bad performance. And I think they took 2 just crap weeks of film, right? South Alabama and Iowa State from Oklahoma State. And this will do this to a team. So you're talking about college athletes here. And as focused as you try to keep them as a coach, sometimes it's a hard thing to do when they are just looking at film for hours, a day, where the other team just doesn't play well. And Oklahoma State just hasn't played well. So I would say that Kansas State didn't take Oklahoma State serious. And I would say that they're obviously regretting that today and when they go back and watch the film. So I think for the Sooners, you got to respect K-State and what they bring to the table. Outside of that, it's the same old thing for OU. This is something that I never understood as a college football player. And the majority of people who play this game around the country will never understand. You're talking about a handful of schools in the nation that understand what I'm getting ready to say. When you play at OU or Alabama or Ohio State, right? Those schools, Notre Dame, those schools, every single time they take the field, the opponent is playing the biggest game of the season. Period. Every single time they take the field, whoever they're playing is playing the biggest game of the season. So every single game that Oklahoma plays, they have to have the same mindset that they had today in the Cotton Bowl, because everybody's going to be biting at the bit. And I'll tell you right now, Mike Gundy might be a weird, odd duck, and Oklahoma State might be floundering around right now. But by the time we get to Bedlam, you know how this works, right? The Cowboys would have put themselves in some sort of position where they're going to have just enough fight in them to throw a punch. And if Oklahoma doesn't show up and take them serious, you never know what's going to happen in that game, as that's the final Bedlam in its history. So I don't necessarily, if you're talking just on paper right now, do I see a hardcore threat for Oklahoma down the road? I do not. But we all know how college football works and the emotion behind it and the spectacle that it is. You know, how some of these stadiums are, like anything could happen here. So the OU is going to have to play their best game every game. If they do that, they'll win out. Period. There won't be anybody that beats them this season. They'll be undefeated going into a semifinal game. Right? It's going to be tough in the Big 12 championship for sure to beat Texas for the second time if that's who they face. But if OU plays the way they did today, and Gabriel leads the way that he did today, and that defense stays healthy and they fly around the field the way they did today, yeah, Oklahoma's they're gonna find themselves in position to play for a semifinal game. What are a handful of key plays that people will remember from? I mean, the turnovers, right? Each one of them is a moment that just shocked me, and I called it in my prediction. I said they were going to get 2 turnovers, and people were asking me why I could feel so confident in that. And I'm telling you, if you go back and watch the first several games, Oklahoma's turnover situation is not fluky. People aren't just out there throwing the ball to them, right? Or a bunch of random tip passes or whatever. Like, they have put themselves in position to have success, to get the ball from the other team. That's a great, well-oiled, organized defense. Venables' defense, they know what they're doing. And I wouldn't surprise one bit to see them go and find a way to get 2. And I think they ended up getting 3 today. And they just, they're always ripping at the ball. They're always fighting for the ball. They're just so well coached. I'm not going to lie. It makes you wonder what the heck Alex Grinch was doing. Like, how do you go from what Grinch did when they didn't know any of that stuff to now this unbelievably fundamentally sound? It took 2 years for Venables to get him here, but they're here. I mean, every little detail of this defense is incredible. The goal line stand will forever be a part of Oklahoma Texas lore. No one will ever forget that moment. Incredible there. Trying to think what else. Farouk had several plays in this one that it should be ESPN top 10 highlight moments. Catching the ball and big time runs afterwards. Drake Stoops, he might be the best route runner on the team, one of the best route runners in the country. One of the most sure-handed kids you're going to find in all of college football. What a great performance from him. I love the play that Tyree Walker runs for a first down, right? Gets almost stalemated about 2.5 yards from the first down, and by himself, like, pushes 2 or 3 Longhorns across the line and falls forward for a first down. It's moments like that. That's a heart thing, right? That's a want-to thing. That's a fight thing that you saw out of Oklahoma that Texas just didn't have at times today. So that one will be one that I never forget. Gabriel's long scrambles. I mean, come on. How many great – I mean, if we did a highlight of just great Oklahoma plays in this game, Ethan Downs, I'm telling you right now, the Weatherford boys, stand up. Weatherford, Oklahoma, you can stand up today because your son went out there and played his ass off in this game. That's the best game I've ever seen Ethan Downs play. He was unhinged for 4 quarters. Getting after the passer, he's one of the best run defenders you're going to find in the conference right now. But what you saw in that pass rush game from him is something I haven't seen out of that kid yet since he got to Oklahoma. And I hope that that's something that we will see for the remainder of the season. He lost his mind in that game. And there was a moment where he sacked the quarterback and he stood up, and you could just see the rage, like straight beast mode out of him, where he flexes over Ewers and he's yelling in his face. And I was just like, good Lord, Ethan, right? I know him and his family personally. This is the kind of kid that he's one of the best human beings that you'll ever meet. His family is salt of the earth. I love them so much. I'm so happy for the Downs family and what they experienced today in the Cotton Bowl. But Ethan Downs should be recognized for one of the best performances in that game that a defensive player has had in a decade. I thought he was electric across the board. This team reminds you of 2002 OU. Remember when they happened when they went to Stillwater undefeated? Yeah, I remember. I was there. This team is pretty darn good. I think 2002 So OU team probably had a little more NFL talent. I think that the jury's still out as far as how many of these guys are going to be able to play at the next level at this point. But the energy is there, the nastiness is there for sure from that 2002 team. Tyree Walker is a dude, absolutely fierce, right? Schmitty built. Now that's the one thing you got to recognize here. Oklahoma takes the field with this toughness, this fight, and this. They don't. I mean, they're not out there getting tired, right? They're not out there doing yoga anymore either. I mean, those boys are. They're putting in the work in the offseason. I hear Rufus Alexander and Wes Sims and Jason White and these guys tell stories of Schmitty in the past, which I don't think he can be the same dude in 2023 because kids just aren't built that way anymore. But you can definitely tell the strength and conditioning program has changed. These guys look different, they run differently, and they are tough as nails. Schmitty absolutely playing a huge factor in getting this team here mentally and prepared for this game. Like those dudes, there's some dogs, and Schmitty absolutely has done a great job with that group. Yeah, McCade was a bit of a gut punch. I hate to see that. Hopefully, you'll get a good report of what's going on there. You hate to see anybody get carted off, especially in a game like this. And he's played a huge role in some of the success that Oklahoma's had this season. I'll say this: Beatonbow's got some dudes, and he's got some kids lined up, and I feel like there's a bunch of guys that played early this season. So I'm not going to say it's going to be a seamless change at that position, but it's not as drastic as maybe it could be in other places. So we'll see what happens there. The culture Brent, this is from George, the culture Brent has brought back to OU has made a huge difference. Great, selfless players who love each other as brothers. That's 100% true. This, there was something to be said. Lincoln Riley, I don't want to say that he took necessarily shortcuts, but what he did promoting the individual in Norman is very 2023, right? It's Hollywood Brown and his grill. It's CeeDee Lamb and his look, and it's the swagger and they get in the where they wanted to going into the stadium. Like kids love that stuff, and that's why kids want to go play for him because he's letting them be who they are and rep their area codes and where they're from and Dade County stand up and all those things. And there's a place for that. There really is. I think if you can take I think when you look at what Lincoln Riley is doing and what Venables is doing, and you combine the two, you get Deion Sanders. Dead serious. Because Deion's doing nothing but talking about football, faith, and family also, but he's letting those boys be who they are. He's letting those boys look how they want to look. He's letting those boys get out there and just, what got them there, their families and everything else. Like there's something to be said about letting these young men represent themselves the way they want to. And I think Deion is doing that along with preaching the same narratives that Venable and Dabo Sweeney are. Deion is all about faith, family, and football and doing the right thing and being good men. He just does it a little differently, right? So Riley on the liberal side, Venables on the conservative side. I think Deion is kind of right there in the middle. But the culture in Oklahoma is incredible. The Soul Mission and everything that they've done, everything they've built, everything that they've had to reconfigure since taking over after Lincoln Riley. It took him 2 years to do it, but it looks like he finally has. Okay, Gabe. I think this is Gabe Eicher said that McGuire's leg is not broken, so that'll be a blessing for sure. Is this season starting to remind anyone of the second year 2000 for Stoops and now BV? Yeah, Stoops I'm just telling you, just from experience, Stoops, the dudes that played on those teams, I mean, there was a bunch of NFL talent on those teams. And I think there's quite a bit on this team also. I think it's just yet to fully get there. And so ask me that same question here in about 3 or 4 weeks, and I'll probably let you know. The Dylan Gabriel negative talk better end after the day. I agree. Y'all better leave that kid alone. He's out there doing the very best he can do, and the best he can do is be one of the nation's top 10 quarterbacks. I mean, he went out there and showed out today on one of the biggest stages he'll ever play on. So, got to give Dylan Gabriel a ton of credit. Preston Green, if there's going to be a repeat of 2002 season, this would be the year because there is no team that is head and shoulders above everyone else this year. That's true. That's very, very true. I mean, I think this league is. I think there's some guys that are pretty bad in this league, but I wouldn't say. Oh, you're talking about in college football as a whole. Yeah, I wouldn't say. I mean, there's no juggernaut of Bama. Ohio State looks like they have their warts like anybody else does. I'll be curious to see what Oregon looks like here in a few weeks. USC's defense is trash. Alex Grinch is just trash. Yeah, I mean, I would say that the top, this is the year you wish you had 12 teams in a playoff because we'd watch some great football across the board. There's not one group in this whole league that is just blowing me away. So I'm here for that. That would be awesome. The bye week isn't a great spot for you to heal up, for sure. All right, let's take a couple more and I'll let you guys go. The top 8 of the season is completely interchangeable. I couldn't agree more. How cool would it be to see them go undefeated in the last year in the Big 12? That would be pretty cool. All right, guys, I appreciate your time. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel. I really would appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Check out some of the content I've got there right now. Next week, I've got Dimitri Flowers going to join me on Tuesday. I'm excited to talk to him, and we're going to line up a couple more great things for next week following this game. I am thrilled to be back in the media. I'm thrilled to be a part of the Sellout Crowd team. These guys are absolutely incredible. This has been a great ride so far, and I'm looking forward to continue to bring you great content for the rest of this season. Into Thunder basketball, the whole 9 yards. This is awesome. So happy to be back. Thank you guys so much for the support, and make sure you like, subscribe, comment. I appreciate the comments. You guys have been fantastic. Hit the thumbs up button. Thank you, Jason Porter. You can tell I'm new to this. Hit that thumbs up button. That would help me out quite a bit also. But once again, thank you guys so much, and have a great day. Oh, I got to do this. Here we go. Cheers, y'all. That was one hell of a game.